I spent years on self-improvement. I read all the books, watched all the videos, and optimized all my habits. Maybe not all of them, but I did a few, I promise. What I learned is that I actually got more stuck than less. It's because I was using self-improvement as more of a procrastination than an improvement tool. So a bit about myself, I know you're dying to know. I'm 26, I wake up at 4:30, I train 4 to 5 days a week to self-improve. I've watched all the big YouTubers that preach productivity, entrepreneurship, business, self-improvement, etc. Yeah, your Ali Abdals, your Alex Hormozis, your Mark Mansons, and even read the big heavy hitters, your 4-hour work weeks, your Atomic Habits, your deep work. But where it's landed me is at a 9-to-5 job working with a Big 4 consultancy firm, which to those of you in the know is a lot more glamorous than it sounds. Pay in Australia is pretty Scheisenhauer to my German friends. But what it has done is it's enabled me to buy a house.
Is this my house? Answer, please.
Now, for those of you that don't know, Australia operates in what I would like to call a bit of a real estate bubble. So Australians think the absolute dream is to own a house. So what did I do? I bought a house, and now, thanks to my house, it has made more money than my job has in a shorter period of time. So my net worth is north of 400k. Can you believe it, guys? Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. He has made it. Despite all this wicked success at such a young age, I'm completely stuck. I'm always chasing that bit more knowledge. I'm always watching that one extra video or reading that extra book, but not actually applying any of the core skills or frameworks that I learned from it. In this video, I want to break down the 4 specific ways that self-improvement became procrastination for me, and also try and give you the tools as to what I used to break it. So the trap was becoming curious about what I can do to feel better in my own skin. So my intro to self-improvement was through, I would say, largely fitness, and then later on entrepreneurship. So when I was a kid, I was a bit on the larger side, not anything super crazy, but definitely not comfortable to whip my shirt off or like kind of go for a swim. I always felt that bit conscious about my body in regards to sort of how I look compared to some of the other people. And a lot of it's just mental and just a lack of confidence. It wasn't anything super glaring. Maybe a little bit fatter than what I would have liked to have been, but nothing super major. I wasn't auditioning for My Biggest Loser or My 600-Pound Life just yet. Although that could have been another avenue that I went if that was the kind of career that I was wanting to make. But yes, I spent years improving myself, but I didn't actually have a particular goal in mind. So originally I started out with fitness, and I got to a pretty happy state with my body in regards to leanness. And then from there, I wanted to solve my money problems. So what did I do? Well, I told myself I'd start a YouTube channel. Never did. I told myself I'd start a business. I never did. I told myself I would get a job that's really high paying. I never did. The truth is, I actually had no idea where or what I wanted to do, and reading productivity books I thought would give me the answer. So naturally, because I didn't know what to do, I thought self-improvement and productivity will help me find out my path in life. But what I learned is that they don't. And never starting and never actually taking action and putting that towards something is also something that doesn't get you anywhere. The books in and of themselves became procrastination. I would read for knowledge, the author would give recommendations, and I wouldn't action or implement them. For every book I read, I dove straight into the next one. The reason why was because I just felt like I didn't know enough to start, and I wondered, why would anyone listen to me or my perspective? The reason this felt productive and I guess kept me in this cycle for so long is because every time you finish a book, there's a bit of a dopamine hit. Every time you finish a chapter, there's a dopamine hit. Ticking off these different habits and bits and pieces that I was learning, it felt like tangible progress, something that I wasn't really getting in other aspects of my life. Watching a business video felt productive again because I was learning how to run and scale a business. None of this was actually real progress. I didn't have a business. A lot of these habits were largely to do with things like content creation or business enterprises, etc. And a lot of that just wasn't in my day-to-day. I was learning it for my future self, but my future self was probably very far in the future at that point, and likely wouldn't remember what it was my future self needed. Over time, I slowly started to come to the realization that I was preparing for something that I wasn't even doing, and really just getting really good at researching, learning different frameworks and methodologies, but really bad at execution, and that's something I'm still definitely trying to work on to this day. Classic paralysis analysis sort of dressed up as sort of self-improvement. Now, the way that it kept me stuck, this is probably somewhere that a lot of people will relate as well, but I was always telling myself that I wasn't ready. I was telling myself, just one more book, just one more video, that one little bit of extra piece of knowledge. The goalposts just kept moving. I'd learn something new, and then immediately I would tell myself, oh, but this shiny thing over here, I need to learn this. And from there, I was just jumping from one thing to the next, constantly learning, but never actually putting anything into practice and testing those things that I'd learned. I'd get really deep into researching all sorts of different topics. Bit of a side tangent. I've got, I would say, obsessive personality, although not confirmed. But then I'd really deep dive into my interests. So one minute I'd be looking at cars, computers. The next minute I'd find my love for gaming again. And then after I got bored of that, I'd jump back into fitness. I'd tell myself that this research I was doing and exploring my interests was me just trying to find my passion and my calling and what I was going to do with my life. Really, it was just a big distraction. It was procrastination that felt productive. From here, from my various rabbit holes that I would dive into, my next point was the mental planning loop. What might this be? Well, my friends, this is really fun. So from my research that I would conduct, I would then spend hours thinking about the next steps, as in if it was a business, how I'd build it, how I'd scale it. Then I start to think what my future life might look like. Or if I was feeling particularly shit that day, I'd go down the opposite way and catastrophize. So I would think how big of a failure it would be, how my wife would leave me, how I would lose the house and end up homeless. Essentially, I was just playing a movie in my head where I was guessing the outcomes, but never actually knowing which way it would have gone. It was either
Great success
or
you're still a failure.
the last loop that I would get into, and it kind of feeds off all the others, is the research loop. So the research loop, this is the big one for me. This is the one that probably kept me stuck for the longest. And if I'm not careful, I still sort of default back to these days. So that's essentially watching YouTube videos, listening to business podcasts, productivity content, and just general sort of entrepreneurial or self-improvement advice. Feeling inspired, and then from there, I would take notes. So if I were to pull up my iPhone notes or my Notion on my laptop or whatever it is, you could just scroll through all these different business or content or whatever it is ideas that I've had that just sort of sit in that vault and die. So everything that's happened up here has decided that that's its final resting place, and it doesn't get revisited despite how motivated I feel when I'm jotting those notes down for maybe a few hours, and then I get to work and forget about it by the time I'm home. So don't do that. What I learned is that self-improvement wasn't actually helping me grow, but more so acting as a crutch and helping me avoid the scary thing. What I really needed to do was start before I was ready, do something imperfectly, not fear failure as much as I do, and just have a go and just actually do the thing. Where this all came crashing down is every year I would set very, very similar New Year's resolutions. So it might be to start that business, it might be to start that YouTube channel, or quit my job, or do this, that, and the other. And I noticed probably the past 3 years in particular, I've really kind of had these inclinations to actually start and to put something into practice versus just always thinking about it. And late last year, there was a comment from my wife, which I'm very thankful for. But she mentioned that you always say you're going to do things, but you never actually do them. That one stung, but I realized that it only stung because it was true. I realized that if I continue to wait to be ready before starting, that I'll never start because you never feel ready. And that the only way really out of this was to stop learning and start doing. Now, overall, I'm not trying to say that self-improvement doesn't have its merits, that it's useless, etc. There are great sort of overarching principles. Self-improvement encapsulates a lot. It's the very generic term in regards to improving your body, your mind, your health, your wealth, etc. These are some really good aspects of it if used and applied correctly. I'm not trying to claim that I've figured it all out, because I definitely haven't. I'm still working somewhere that I don't like very much, so take my advice with a grain of salt. I'm slugging it out day to day, and just trying to see what I can do to actually take the steps to improve my life. The way I'm doing this is by actually holding myself to account for once. I've told my wife that I'm now making YouTube videos, so that was a journey in and of itself. I felt kind of embarrassed is not the right word, but maybe a little bit cringy. I've started setting up like a sort of rough content schedule, although depending on how everything goes in life depends on how consistent I am. I would like to be as consistent as possible, and I'm trying to aim for roughly once every 1 to 2 weeks posting, depending on how fucked work is. But that's my excuse, so that's something I'm trying to overcome. And I've just come to the realization that I can't just keep putting stuff off. The thought of wasting countless years procrastinating just eats me alive, and it's nothing that I want for myself, and it's nothing I want for you either. Essentially, I want this video to kind of serve as a bit of a message, or almost a what not to do, and stop people from coming down the same sort of path or rabbit hole that I have, wasting years and years of their life, and then just ending up in a very similar situation to where they begun. So the actual lesson, I know you might be thinking, wow, this guy's just chat absolute shit this whole time. I'm still learning how to talk to camera. But real self-improvement isn't actually just consuming more content. It's not optimizing your morning routine. It's not reading more books. It's doing uncomfortable things that you've been avoiding. For me, it's starting this channel before I felt ready, creating something before it felt perfect, or building something instead of just thinking about building. For you, it might be getting into the gym. It might be asking someone out on a date. It might even be going for a job interview. It could be anything. It'll be something that you know that you need to do, that you've been putting off for a significant amount of time. The difference in mindset that I've adopted, and it sounds very small, but before I was very much, I'll start once I learn, but now it's, I will learn X by starting. This sounds like a really small change, but the sense of joy you get from actually achieving something that you said that you were going to do and doing it, I can't describe it enough. What I want you to do is try this out and let me know how you feel in the comments. Start small and just improve incrementally day by day. Small increases over a long enough time horizon are fucking massive. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but right now, I want you to pick the one thing that you've been researching. I want you to do it imperfectly for the week. The reason I want you to do this is because action beats preparation. Learn through doing, and stop listening to gurus. You've consumed enough. Go forth, do the thing. The mass has ended. Right now, I want you to go to the comments and write, this week I'm going to X. From there, I can hold you to account because I'm a tiny channel. So that means I'm going to get fuck all comments. So if you comment in there something that you are going to do, then I know that you've watched this far into the video and I can hold you to account. Make it public. That's the first step. Goodbye and good night.